hearing others. I know I was confused most of my life. You know, I was adopted by my father, and then I became a birth mother, and there's a lot of, sometimes it's almost like a void of, I don't really know what I'm feeling, I know what I'm intuitively feeling, and that doesn't match up with what everyone is thinking and saying around me, or acting towards me. And so it's like, are these feelings that I have in my gut real? Or is it not, you know? And so you have people just slowly start to come out and say how they feel and start growing and start, you know, being a part of this community. You have a lot of people healing a lot of trauma as well that hasn't been discussed, and that would normally be really suppressed. And so I think this speaks to probably, if not half the population. I mean, a lot of people are adopted or give birth and birth parents.
I think there's a lot of pressure also to, you seem, if you question your adoption or who your birth parents were, people see you as not having some gratitude or some thankfulness, like you owe your adoptive parents and basically everybody who they know your silence, because it would look so almost
disrespectful.
Greedy. Yeah, disrespectful
Yeah.
or greedy to say, well, yeah, they did raise me, but I really need to know who this other person was, or who my birth betrayers or something, you know, that just the sense
Well, it was
of
taboo.
It was,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's part of where that sibling thing is like, you're adopted. You know, this is a part of where that came from. It's like that was something that you do to tell them off.
Right.
You know, that wasn't favorable. So it was very taboo, right? And did you ever feel like it? Not that you always try to want to, you know, find a silver lining and everything, but did you ever feel like it made you appreciate certain relationships a little bit more with certain people, or did you feel like it kept you sort of kind of hidden? Like, what did it have different effects on different relationships?
It's made me suspicious of every relationship I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's a very strange thing, completely irrational. And I know, say, my husband, who I've been married to for 36 years, I know the man loves me, especially with everything I put him through. I mean, he still wouldn't be here. But honestly, if for some reason I came home to a note saying, yeah, I'm out of here, I would be absolutely, you know, laid out. But I wouldn't be surprised.
I know, and not surprised.
That's the really,
like, that's what I was expecting.
it's just like you expect.
Yeah.
You're more surprised that people stick around.
You expect,
Oh my gosh.
You expect the abandonment?
Oh, all the
Yeah.
time, 24/7,
Wow.
by everybody.
That's a tough place to live.
Yeah, it is. And that's our, I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think that's our general state of mind most of the time. And not,
Is
it's
that
not
why
that
adoptees are 4 times more likely to be in
suicidal, yeah.
rehab centers, or what I like to say, on the struggle bus? And that's why I made the film, because 2 relatives in my family were really like struggling and would not read the book, and I was surprised there wasn't a movie about it, but I wanted there to be something for adoptees who are going through it and might just need to see and know that they're not alone. I don't know what the solution is, but I think like community,
And that's where it just goes.
not being alone,
progresses.
being alone and isolated is not good for anybody. Adoptees who have this, like, their brains are wired differently from that abandonment, from the separation trauma, it can be very detrimental.
And I don't think we feel like we deserve it. I just think for whatever reason, we kind of just expect to be abandoned, and it isn't even, I don't even see, I see like looking at my own value as a person and people abandoning me as 2 separate things. It isn't even really, in my mind, a reflection on my value. It's just what happens. There's no permanency.
Is that universal? Everybody on?
I think we just get, I wouldn't say used to it, but it just, the fact that we've been abandoned or relinquished, that it just, we always feel that deep down inside.
But it's
And
a
we always,
possibility.
Yeah, and we always have those worries, whether you're, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's, your significant other, it's always there and it sticks with you.
It's just there.
It's there.
Do you think, because obviously, I call it the Phil Donahue, Oprah Winfrey effect, and Dr. Phil, where there's a lot of more over-the-counter psychology these days than there were maybe back in the day. Do you feel like the community as a whole maybe taking care a little bit more with new adopted children, or do you feel like it just needs a whole?
Oh yeah, there's adoptive parents here tonight that are very supportive, and we love that. Stay Home podcast, such a good resource too. And so the fact that Beth, that you're doing the work you're doing, and is incredible. I don't think
Can you
that
tell
would-
us about what the podcast is about? Is it to help families kind of cope?
Phil. And I just started a group for adoptive parents that are coming out of the fog. They're willing to look at this stuff, which is hard to find those.
And you're reading.
Yeah, and we're reading the Primal.
There's been a bunch of them too. Over the, it's hard to, for a lot of us to be like, okay, maybe this is more real than what it seems. But I've seen it slowly happening, which when I first started even talking about it openly with anyone, it was hard. There was no supporters, everyone was confused, you got a million questions. And now all you see is, wow, you've opened my eyes a lot. Maybe this took a while for me to hear you, or you have adoptive parents come to you and say like, hey, what can I do better, or what can I look out for? So my son or my daughter has, an easier time, and I take responsibility for myself, and so I do see this community growing collectively, because it's not just adoptees, it's birth parents, and then APs, who will grow and along with us, and really see how we can do things better and continue progress, which is hard to kind of figure out where do we go forward, because it's been such a hard system to navigate, but I think there's a lot of progress to come, and I'm really excited, and I'm really glad to be here.
I mean, do you feel like it's a positive thing that may be finding change, or do you feel like this is just the way it was, and you have to help change the course for future adoptees?
We have to. We have to. There's
And where does that start?
It starts now. And
But with who?
With us. With others.
No, with you, but is it the
I think
agencies?
the agencies
who
need
has
to
the
be
initial-
held accountable. Everyone needs to be held accountable for growing in this. Sorry.
And I think that people in general need to realize that there is, but there shouldn't be any stigma in being an unwed parent, or a parent who even is married but chooses to, whatever reason, not raise their child. They should be acknowledged for that, but also acknowledged for the fact that the choice they're making is so huge. It's going to affect them
Yeah, they don't tell us. It's a whole.
forever, so.
And I think that's where maybe I'm saying the responsibility lies with these agencies that are helping, but they need to stick with them.
But you're
Which is why
assuming
they
they're all
continue
agency
going.
adoptions too.
Well, but that's what we on the outside hear, an adoption agency. That's what I've heard my whole life.
I
Go to an
was
adoption
commodified.
agency.
My mom's OB, my birth mom came to San Francisco to stay with aunts and went to the same OB that my adoptive mom went to, and my adoptive parents basically bought.
Wow.
And it was all legal.
Wow.
They did it all above board. He had a lawyer. They
Permission
paid
to
her. Yeah.
Wow.
Linnell Long has done a lot of work in Australia. I think she's even gotten free medical care for adoptees. I think the government should do something like that here.
We should.
Or at
We
least
should all have self-care funds.
Oh, absolutely.
Free therapy.
Yeah.
And
I believe, all the adoptees should have free
maybe everyone
therapy.
should.
Yeah.
But
I think
definitely
it should
adoptees.
be part of it as being
Yeah.
adopted, that the birth mother, the adoptive parents, and the child for as ever long they need should have a lot of mental support, which it may have changed. I mean, my adoption was arranged in 1961. Obviously, things have changed considerably since then. But it's still kind of a double-edged sword, because I have a friend whose daughter gave her child up to an open adoption, and that makes me uncomfortable, because I keep thinking that the little one, at some point, you know, the birth mom's visiting all the time and coming to the birthday parties, and I don't know how you would even explain that to a child. I don't know how you look at that relationship. I don't think there's a simple answer to any of it.
It's just growing and working with each other and being really empathetic about each other's needs and the future, really. There's no like simple one way like answer to fix all of this, but we can come together and do research and promote and continue trying to help anyone else not go through what anybody here in future adoptees and birth parents or anyone may go through in the future. And I think we'll continue doing that until we see more progress. I know I will, and I know you will too.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. I mean, when we do Q&As with like narrative fiction films and stuff, we always talk about peeling the layers back to find out all the details of the story. But this seems like a bunch of onions that you have to peel back and find a whole bunch of multi-layers to within layers. So
I see people in the audience that this is podcast, Julie Dixon Jackson, cut off jeans, and people I've met at the high rate healing retreat. There's healing retreats, there's podcasts that are like
shedding the light.
Bi-monthly, that yes, they're telling more stories, shedding light. Yes.
I was just going to say what this does and what needs to happen with this is changing the narrative about adoption, because right now the main narrative still in our culture is that adoption is wonderful, adoption is beautiful, adoption is great, and it's not. It's hiding the dark side and the difficult side and the hard truths about adoption. And that's what I think this film does a lot.
Because repressing it is not working. It's not working for us.
No, and it's creating more problems, It's not fixing.
What's reality instead of just pretending like everything's fine or
Denial is
covering
not
it up.
working.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
My hope is that people who have no idea about any of these issues see the film and then have more compassion for adoptees they know or are in relationship with, and we can, like you said, change the
I hope
narrative.
adoptees don't have to wait until they're my age to start finding healing from this stuff, because when I found my mom when I was 23 years old, but no therapist, counselor, psychiatrist, anybody that I ever went to ever mentioned that adoption might be part of the trauma in my life, or that it was a trauma. So it's just now connecting with other adoptees that I'm starting to find that out.
It's so beautiful seeing how much it's grown and just exponentially. It's helping a lot of people.
Very much.
Like, really, I don't think a lot of people, especially in our time today, what we're going through, is a lot as well. So there's a lot of people who need this. It is extremely important. I think for the sake of like humanity and society, this is one of the most necessary movies and books.
Well, we are glad to definitely shed a light on it with you. Yes, we'll take one question, and also know that they will be available after as well to talk to.
I just wanted to mention that one of the reasons why this is so important is because society in general still has no idea that being adopted is traumatic. And we're out here individually most of the time on social media trying to talk about it, and I'm on TikTok a lot, and I get constantly, every time you talk about it, you get people saying, "You're ungrateful, you did love," and it's so nuanced and so complicated, and it needs to be talked about on such a broader spectrum, because it's exhausting having to explain it over and over
I go
and over
hard
again.
all the
And
time.
that's why this is.
Well, thank you so much. I know this is your West Coast premiere, right?
Yes.
And we're so happy to share it with you, and we're so happy to have it and help. You know, one thing that we love is sharing messages that need to be heard. Come up, ask questions.
Thank you.
With the Primal.
Sorry. Oh, I thought.